People are limited as to what they are capable of accomplishing in their life, especially around 1975. As time went on, technological innovation improved how people live their life and lifestyle. One instance of change can be seen through an interview recorded by Lax Project at the University of Georgia on an old man named George from a parish in Louisiana. Lags is a project where interviews are done by experts and fanatics where they have a specific set of questions that they ask their respondents. The experts then analyze the data obtained from the respondents and make generalizations about how the people say certain words and compare it to the rest of the country. George explains how the sense of placement influences the dialect that defines the 20th century society. He clarifies his living experience influences assimilation to society in the same way my grandparents' experience influenced their place in society. Leisure time was spent very differently in 1975 as compared to how leisure time is spent now. Nowadays, as standards of living improve here in America, people have better chances to become educated and have a successful life. For example, now, when seniors retire, they are traveling and living their lives in paradise. However, George explains how he spends his leisure time doing labor work. He spends his time in growing vegetables. He says,
little farming, just raising truck farming a little. Of course, I don't sell no stuff. Just truck farming.
Similarly, my grandparents are living the exact same lifestyle in Bangladesh. Even at age around 80, they keep themselves occupied with growing crops and vegetables, but do not sell whatever is grown. They instead take whatever is grown and share with my aunts and uncles and people living in their community. The interviewer asks if George travels anywhere. George replies no, and he only travels when work requires him to. This shows that George has a sense of placement in society where he dislikes being away from home. This contributes to George's dialect. George is able to preserve his dialect that is used in his community, whereas traveling could have disturbed his language by adding different ways of saying certain words. George represents the lower class of the society and how they live. He lived on his farm his entire life and worked. Unlike the current generation, where everyone in America has an opportunity to go wherever they please and has a chance to become successful in life, George's society did not allow it. The school in his community only went up to 8th grade. He did not have a chance to gain any more education by going to a high school or college like the 21st century. Like George, my grandparents, even some of my aunts and uncles were unable to complete the level of education that exists in American culture now because society allowed schools to only go up to certain grades. This lack of education emphasizes the difference in dialect from region to region. For example, when listening to the MP3 of the interviews, one can hear the difference in the way George pronounces certain words like
potatoes, onions, peas, beans, and all such of vegetables
compared to the way these words are said today. On the other hand, George makes an effort to improve his literacy. George states,
I'd read some, after I quit school, I still read my school books and I'd read papers. But for the last 30 years, more than that, I haven't read the book.
What do you think of reading during this time? People usually read the Bible. Instead, George attempts to make time for his old books. However, he stopped. This shows how George lacks any influence from his surroundings. His limited education fails to have any effect on his way of speaking. As a result, his language remained adjusted to society. Since education is absent from George's life, he spent most of his time working. George claims that he changed from job to job. He says,
well, I've done farm work. I've worked with stock. I do cattling hogs, all kinds of stock, you see. Raised stock. I raised stock.
George did not have a stable life. He is always changing his job. Unlike people of the 21st century where people have chances to go to college in order to receive a degree that provides these people opportunities to have jobs associated with their major, George's time period did not allow for a sense of certainty for a stable job.
Did all kinds of timber work. I made staves, I made bows, I cut logs, cut telephone poles, and I cut wood, and I did all kinds of timber work.
George changed between jobs that were close to his farm. For instance, he mentions that he worked at one job for 2 days and worked at Pine Island for 30 days. Just like everyone in this holiday, he's able to work alongside others where they share similar culture. The way they speak is very similar, but may differ from other parents. Language is a way for an individual to communicate and express his or herself in the community and show the influence that the community has on them. It is also the gateway for others to get an insight in others' culture and for articulating individual experiences. As I reviewed the interview by Almost 794 Authority, I was able to reminisce on memories from back home. The Lags interview has language being portrayed through George's personal experiences. George lived in a society where hard labor was the norm. Alienating himself hindered his chance of becoming educated, thus leaving him with a limited vocabulary that reflects the influence from his surroundings.